Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today is going to be another video surrounding the Switch 2, but I do want to let you know that it is currently planned to be my last video on the topic for the foreseeable future until we actually get something else significant. I mentioned on a recent video how I've really tried to go out of my way in 2024 to not force too many Switch 2 conversations, whereas the rest of the internet seems very intent to constantly trying to find a way to talk about the Switch 2 whenever there wasn't anything to discuss. But of course, this past week, we actually had something that felt pretty relevant. The idea of these alleged leaked images about the Switch 2, which I did cover, certainly brought the conversation back, and I really have enjoyed talking about it. And I talked about how that related to the Nintendo NX leaks many years ago in my last video, and it's been a lot of fun. And I do have one more, like I said, topic today to talk about that does relate to the Switch 2. But until we get some sort of confirmation or anything else new from Nintendo, I think I'm probably done for now. So I just want to let you know I don't plan on continuing to spam Switch 2 videos where they're not really needed on my channel, at least. That being said, maybe I managed to create a miracle and somehow this week Nintendo does reveal the Switch 2, and then I have no choice but to continue talking about it. And so if that does happen, you're welcome, I guess, because maybe I make the Switch 2 get revealed soon. Anyway, that was kind of just a little housekeeping sort of intro. I wanted to open the video and let you guys know that this is like the third or fourth Switch 2 video in a row, but it's my last one until we get something else significant to talk about. That being said, let's move on to today's topic that does have to do with the Switch 2, like I said, and it actually more relates to Nintendo Directs and how these alleged leaks, and if you watched my video, you know I am not fully bought into these being accurate leaks. They're interesting, they certainly might mean something. I'm not writing them off, but I am also not buying into them completely, and I am not going to peddle them as fact, the way I have seen other people unfortunately do online. But in reaction to these alleged leaked images, there has been a discussion about if they're real or if they're accurate or if Nintendo has any concern about these images being out there. Would it maybe force Nintendo's hand to change their plans around their next Nintendo Direct and even the reveal of the Switch 2 itself? And so I think most people's natural reaction to that idea is that, well, if these images are real or even close to real, and if Nintendo is upset that they got out there, then that means they have to rush to it. They have to get to the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. They have to get their next Nintendo Direct out there sooner than later. And if they were planning on doing it in a few weeks or a few months, they're going to have to move it up, and they're going to have to do it like next week. They're going to have to do it in the next couple of days or the next week or two, because now they need to start getting ahead of the messaging because of these leaks. Like I said, probably a lot of people's knee-jerk reactions, and I've seen a lot of people state those things, and I understand it. And even a little bit of me kind of thinks that that could also be true. But I also more lean towards thinking the opposite might be true, unfortunately. And if it even would impact their plans around the reveal, and I'm not even saying that I think it would, but for the sake of conversation, let's pretend these leaks are convincing Nintendo to change their plan with the reveal of the Switch 2 and stuff. Yes, there's a chance it might make them want to reveal it sooner than later, but I actually think there's more of a chance it might actually convince them to push the reveal back a little bit. The reason I say that is because I think from Nintendo's vantage as a business, it might be better for them and smarter for them to create a little bit of space and breath between these leaked images getting out. Again, we're just going on, for the sake of conversation, we're just going to assume that they're actually relevant in some way. So I think Nintendo would want to create that space or breath between these images getting out this past week and the initial influx for a few days or even an extended week of all of us talking about it, thinking about it, discussing it, poring over these images, looking into the sources, looking into these Chinese message boards that apparently created this, the person who made these 3D images. You know, there's several days to a week or two where everyone is going to be laser focused on these images and talking about how it relates to the Switch 2. Again, this is like my third video in a row even related to these images getting out there, and I'm just one of thousands of YouTubers doing the same thing. And so once this initial zeitgeist attention kind of subsides, which I really think will only take a week or maybe two at max, if Nintendo allows themselves maybe even a few months. I hate to say it because I don't want this to be true, but anywhere from a few weeks to a few months additional time beyond when they were maybe planning to reveal the Switch 2, that gives people enough time to separate and kind of just not forget about these leaks, but forget to pay attention to these leaks and images so that whenever Nintendo would come back and officially show us the Switch 2, and if the Switch 2 either matches exactly these images or is, if anything, close to these images, it still will have a little bit more of a feeling of a surprise or a relief, and that general hype and excitement might be a part of that reveal because we will be, several weeks or even several months removed from when these CAD images got out there. I say that because when I view this through my own lens, I'm being a little bit biased here, but having looked at these images, which I really wish that I hadn't seen, but I have seen them, that's why I talked about it. Having looked at these images, if Nintendo was to now rush the Switch 2 reveal out, let's say this coming week or even in the first week of October, and I still think October is when they're going to reveal this thing, by the way, but let's say they rush it to next week or the very, very beginning of October because these images got out there. If 2 weeks after I saw these images, these leaked images, I then see the exact same thing revealed by Nintendo, of course I'm going to be excited because it's real, it's official, we're hopefully going to see games and Nintendo makes exciting presentations, but there will be a lot of wind sucked out of the initial excitement of seeing it for the first time, simply because it will be bookended by these images, which we all just saw days ago. And when I picture that timing of last week these images and 2 weeks later Nintendo shows us the same thing in a trailer, I'm like, well, there's a level of excitement and awe and wonder in seeing Nintendo reveal the Switch 2 for the first time that would absolutely be lost, in my opinion, by seeing it happen so close to the reveal of these images. And again, we're going on the assumption, for the sake of this conversation only, that these images are real, and we're going on the assumption that Nintendo would change their plans because these images got out. And in that scenario, for the sake of conversation with those two assumptions, to me, it becomes a lot less exciting. But, like I said, if Nintendo had been planning this whole time to reveal the Switch 2 like on October 15th or 20th or 25th or whatever date it would be, but then these leaked images comes out and they have to change their plan, I think that it would almost be smarter for them. And again, I've already said this, I'll say it again. I hate this idea. I don't want this to happen. I am so damned ready for the Switch 2. But if they were planning on like October 20th again to reveal this thing, these images comes out and now maybe they're like, we need to actually wait a little bit longer. Instead of doing it on October 20th, instead of doing it sooner than then to account for these images, let's push it back a month or two maybe into November or December, hopefully before the end of the year, so that there's, 2 or 3 months between these images getting out there and the week that everyone is paying attention to them and talking about them. Then it's going to subside and mostly go away, and the conversation and focus will sort of dissipate. And then when they come back again, maybe 2 or 3 months later, instead of a few weeks later, when they do reveal it, and if it is identical or close to these images, even though we will all say, oh my gosh, it matches those leaked images from September, I'm thinking that the gap in time will allow us to kind of ebb and flow into not caring and then suddenly caring again so much when we see it from Nintendo that that's real hype and excitement that we would have thought we would have is suddenly present again because there had been a gap in time. I don't know if any of this makes sense. I certainly hope it does, because like I said, I'm using a lot of my own personal bias and how I feel about it to color my opinion and have this discussion about how I think Nintendo might be looking at it. I mean, however Nintendo chooses to look at it is obviously up to them. Because if these things are real and substantial, then they could choose to do it sooner than planned. They could choose to stick to whatever their original plan was, whether that's October, whether that's next year, whatever it is. They might just be sticking to their plan, or they might say, we need to move it back a little bit to give some space between these images and our official reveal so that people can kind of get re-hyped and excited about it due to that lapse in time between everyone seeing these images. So Nintendo is the one who knows how they feel about it and if these images actually even mean anything in the first place, right? But I'm just talking about, for me, because I know I would feel less excited seeing it only 2 weeks after these images get out. I'm hoping that Nintendo, not hoping, I'm wondering if Nintendo would think the same thing and realize there's a benefit to the consumer and to their business to push it back and give a little bit of time between these reveals. And part of this conversation is just the idea of even a Nintendo Direct, which doesn't have to be the naming of the reveal of the Switch 2. I mean, they could reveal the Switch 2 and it could just be posted one morning and it's Nintendo Switch 2 Direct presentation, or they could do a regular Direct and then do the reveal of the Switch 2 separately, right? Because I don't think that they would reveal the Switch 2 in a regular Direct. I think whenever the Switch 2 is revealed, it's going to be its own dedicated presentation. I'm just saying they might label it as a Switch 2 Direct, but I don't think there would be a normal Direct that has regular trailers and reveals like we see all the time, and then at the very end, just add an additional trailer revealing the Switch 2. That I do not think they would do. The Switch 2 will be revealed in its own bubble with all of the focus on and attention on the Switch 2, the reveal of the console, whatever games they decide to show. If they decide to give us a date and a price and all that stuff, that's going to have its own focused attention. They might call it a Direct, they might call it something else. But there is the idea of every September we are supposed to get, we typically get a Nintendo Direct, a full traditional Direct, wrapping up the year we're in and also slightly setting up the incoming year. And so this upcoming week is the final week of September. Are they going to give us a Direct? Are they going to give us a Switch 2 reveal like people have tried to surmise? I mean, the answer is definitely still maybe we are going to get one of those. But again, if these leaked images hold any weight, and if people at Nintendo have had to scramble because these things got out and they actually do reveal something important, would Nintendo change the Switch 2 reveal, or would they also change the timing of a traditional Direct if they've been planning a traditional Direct for this last week of September? All I'm going to do to kind of wrap this conversation up is to come back to my general overall thoughts about all of this. And I don't know that I expect anything to happen in this last week of September. We're not going to get, obviously, like a Direct Mini or Indie or anything. They just did an Indie and a partner showcase recently. Traditional Direct, maybe, but I don't think so. I think Nintendo's next major messaging to us, whatever it is next month in October. More than likely, I do think it is the Switch 2. So I'm going to leave you with this optimistic thought. I think the Switch 2 is going to be revealed in October. Well, I think it is going to be revealed. I think more than likely. I'm like 70-30. So like 70% of me says, yeah, I think we're probably going to see the Switch 2 next month in October, maybe near the end of the month. The original Switch, I think, was revealed on October. It was like 20th, I think, 20th or 21st. I didn't double check the date from my last video. That's when they revealed the Switch. Switch 2 could very likely be around the same timing. But if it doesn't happen, then maybe these images impacted their decision, and then we just have to kind of play the wait and see game, I don't know if it's time for a traditional Direct. I don't think Nintendo has anything to share when it comes to the current Switch. The Mario Party game and the Mario and Luigi game that are coming out soon, all they need to do is those 5-minute overview trailers for those. They've already done like 2 of those, I think, for Mario and Luigi. I think. I don't follow the games, so maybe I'm wrong, but I know there's been at least one. So all they need to do for their few big games this year, because Zelda is also, God, I forgot about this. Zelda comes out this coming week. So I also don't think at this juncture, Nintendo wants to reveal the Switch 2 or have a major Direct before Zelda. They need to get Zelda out, and that comes out like at the end of this coming week. So we're getting into October before Nintendo addresses us with anything. The Mario and Luigi and the Mario Party games, I don't know when those things come out. They're coming out sometime soon. All they need to do is those overview trailers. There's nothing else on the Switch that's going to demand a traditional Direct. I don't think they have that many other big games planned. Metroid Prime 4, you know how I feel. I think the focus on that game is going to shift to a Switch 2 version. And yes, it will release on the Switch. But because I believe it will be cross-gen, I think that the focus on their marketing and their trailer footage and everything is going to move after the initial reveal in June of that game to now focusing on the Switch 2 version. And then, oh, by the way, there will be a last-gen Switch version if you want that as well. That's just what I'm predicting. It's a guess. I could be wrong, but that's my prediction. So I don't even think Metroid Prime 4 becomes important for Nintendo to address us in a Direct about the current Switch. Everything, in my opinion, will shift to Switch 2 marketing in October or whenever the reveal happens. Regardless of these images, when that reveal happens, it all becomes about the Switch 2, and the Switch becomes old news. It's going to keep getting games, and we'll be getting trailers for games that are coming to Switch 2, and with asterisks, you can play it on the Switch as well. But everything is going to be really focused, I think, on marketing the Switch 2 and the games for the Switch 2 soon. And again, 70-30, I believe, in October. So this is what I think. It's all speculation, and I just thought it would be fun to kind of, mull around the idea of if these images made any impact on Nintendo's plan to reveal the console. A lot of people thought that it was going to move Nintendo's plans forward, and I think there's a better chance of it moving their plans back, if it even makes an impact. Because again, I also think there's a chance Nintendo won't even care, and they'll just carry on business as usual, and it won't even matter that these images got out. Not to mention the fact, for the last time I'll say this, that I don't even know that I believe the images are even real anyway. So there's a lot of ifs when it comes to this, right? This is a ton of assumption and speculation into this conversation, but it's fun. That's why this is a fun time. Even though these images might be kind of annoying, it's at least fun to get us talking about things and thinking about stuff and excited about what Nintendo's going to show us next. This is a very fun time to be a game fan and a Nintendo fan, even if it's also kind of frustrating at the same time, right? So, do with that information what you will. This is what I think. I'm predicting in October, we're going to see the Switch 2. I'm hoping for more Metroid Prime 4 stuff. And so that's what I think. Talk about it below. And that's about it.